Okay, why don't we get going? I will inelegantly stop my share so that we can introduce each other. I think we have a couple new participants, some new faces, and we want to welcome them and thank them for coming. My name is Ted Hafner, and I am the lead for the climate group for Chicago Wilderness Alliance. Gosh, I probably should have thought of a better opener, but weekend plans. I am looking forward to seeing the sunshine today and doing some catch up tomorrow. Laura, why don't you go next?
I'm Laura Riley. I'm the Managing Director of Chicago Wilderness Alliance, and weekend plans. So far, I'm not exactly sure. I just know that I'm definitely getting outside because I have been inside this week, and this whole week with gray weather and no sunshine has been really hard. So I'm looking forward to just getting out there and probably doing a little yard work, which is overdue. Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth Beyer, Executive Director of the Technology Alliance, and two of the people I work with on the Hope Environment and Art Project have joined us today, so I'll let them talk when they're ready. Maybe I'll turn it over to Claudia. Want to say hi?
Good morning. My name is Claudia. I'm the Director of Women for Green Spaces, Mujeres por Espacios Verdes. And yes, it's a beautiful day. I'm coming from a doctor's appointment, and it's beautiful. We already starting cleaning our gardens, and we enjoy seeing our first blooms in the Orozco garden. And I don't know who else we have here.
Yeah, I can go next. I'm with Claudia and Beth also, working on some of the Hope Environment and Art projects. And my name's Emily Parkinson. I am also part of the Greater Rockwell organization that is kind of doing a community effort to convert some corner parkways into more ecologically friendly garden spaces that can perform some ecosystem services. And this weekend, actually, I will be at the Morton Arboretum for Dog Admission Day on Sunday. I'll be bringing my dog there for the first time. So hoping for good weather. Do I need to call on someone to go next?
Sure.
Okay. Well, Rachel at Morton Arboretum, why don't you go next?
Oh, we can't hear you, Rachel.
Yeah, it does not look like you're muted, but
Perhaps her microphone on her computer is off.
Not yet.
No,
we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you.
You might have to exit and come back.
How about Seva next?
Sure. Seva with Collaborative Connections, helping move forward captain work. This weekend, I'm going to Grand Rapids. My friend built a sauna and asked me to come check it out. And it's past sauna weather, but I'm still going to go check it out. I'll pass to Doug Stotz.
It might not be past sauna weather in Grand Rapids.
Sure.
I'm Doug Stotz from the Field Museum, and I've been active on CAPN and in climate committee for a long time. I'm going to go bird watching, but I don't have anything special planned. This is the worst time of year because spring is here. There should be birds everywhere, and there aren't. So I'll go out there and I'll be frustrated how little I'll see. So how about Casey?
Hello, everyone. Casey Sullivan, Argonne National Laboratory. I also plan to go to Michigan, but not as far as Grand Rapids, probably in the New Buffalo area to enjoy some outdoor weather and do some odds and ends that I've got going on out there. Thank you.
About Sam next.
Sure. Hello, good morning. I'm Samantha Sainsbury. I work with Sabat Collaborative Connections, and this weekend I'm on a big spring decluttering kick. So I will be kind of doing the next phase of my declutter. That's my big weekend planned. All right, I'm complete. I'll pass to Renee.
Renee, we can't hear you.
Okay, so she can go next. Mario just is joining us. Has everyone on the screen, I think, has gone? Lake, do you want to go?
Also, Rachel's tech issues might be solved for.
I can go. Hi, I'm Lake Schulke. I'm the program assistant with Chicago Wilderness Alliance. I'll be here taking notes. And this weekend, I'm actually in Florida visiting a friend. So we're going to go to a freshwater spring and hopefully I'll see some cool wildlife. I'm hoping for a gator. And who's left now?
Rachel, you want to try again? Oh, shoot, no.
Rachel
sorry.
equals Renee, or other Rachel.
Yeah. We'll come back again. Bob?
Hi, everybody. Bob Hoyer, H&A Networks Consulting. I'm active in the Growing with Agriculture Committee and have been working with Climate Action Evanston to loop them into the Alliance network here. My weekend plans include going to a couple of Seders. My partner is hosting a 19-person one on Sunday, so I think there's a lot of work involved with that.
Yeah, I bet. Mario?
Hi, yeah, Mario Langoni Field Museum. Tomorrow I'm going to the Planet Palooza event in Gary, Indiana with a colleague, and I think that's kind of be the highlight of the weekend, and then probably resting on Sunday. So looking forward to it.
Thanks, Renee. Renee is looking forward to Community Garden opening this weekend. That's exciting. And Robin is just joining us now. And then Nicole, if Nicole has joined us, ready. Robin, we're doing a quick introduction and just saying what we're looking forward to this weekend.
Oh, this weekend. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, is it even the weekend?
I know, not yet, but we're all hoping it comes soon.
My name is Robin Flackney. I'm the Natural Resources Manager at the Village of Glenview. And yeah, I might be on a bike ride on the Lakefront Trail this Sunday. So yeah.
Excellent. Nicole.
Hi, everyone. I am coming to you from my car. I am looking forward to doing nothing this weekend because I have quite a few stewardship volunteer weekends ahead of me. So as an introvert, I will revel in my reading time.
Enjoy.
Thanks.
Rachel,
Also with the
please try
Field Museum. Sorry.
Yes, thank you. Please try one more time, Rachel. We would love to hear from you.
Hi, everybody. How is this?
Yay.
All right. I switched on to my cell phone. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Novick. I'm the Director of Sustainability at the Morton Arboretum. And this weekend, we will be hosting some Seders. And so today I am doing some cooking and cleaning and getting ready.
Yes, well, all of you and celebrating, enjoy. Okay. Turning back to Ted.
You're muted, Ted.
Yes, thank you. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to run through some quick announcements and reminders, and then we have a presentation that we heard from Claudia and Emily about. They'll give us a nice presentation on heat climate action and women for green spaces. And then also Seva and Sam will do a little bit of CAPN deep dive and prep since we have been able to get that approved through the steering committee since our last meeting, and we thought that that might be a good thing to do a little soft launch of this meeting, and then we'll give you all a reminder for our next meeting. But be pretty quick, in depth, and I'm looking forward to our presentations today. But first, I want to let everybody know that May 21st in Springfield is Climate Action Lobby Day. There were a series of lobby days this week. I think one was for conservation on Wednesday, and then Tuesday was something else that I can't remember. But based on the one on Wednesday, we doubled our participation from last year, and I imagine IEC and all the sponsors would love to do that with Climate Lobby Day as well. There will be email reminders sent out about this. We'll probably have an action alert via the CW network to help sign up for this, but I wanted to put this on your radar before not too much longer crept away on the calendar, because these things come up pretty quickly, and it is a full day with either a train down or I think Wednesday Open Land sponsored a bus, which was really nice. So look for things like that in the future if you're interested in participating. I will probably be at this, and I hope others come as well, because they're fun and necessary, even if you hate legislation in Springfield. The other reminders that I have are the conferences that are upcoming that I'm aware of. We have at the end of this month, the 2025 Midwest Climate Summit in Madison, with the Midwest Climate Collaborative, the folks out of Washington University in St. Louis. We actually have a presentation there. We're co-presenting on CAPN, but it got jumbled. So it's really sort of a mishmash of 4 presentations rolled into one with breakouts. But I'm looking forward to that. And if you're interested, please come to Madison at the end of this month. The next opportunity is Sustainability Research and Innovation. 2025 is coming to Chicago, the 16th to the 19th of June. That registration is also live. I am unsure as to whether or not we're going to have a presentation on CAPN there. We were initially accepted, but we were going through the steering committee churn, and the future of CAPN was sort of not sure, so I didn't respond in time, and I'm working on the details of whether or not they can still squeeze us in or not. And then the last one is the Aspen Ideas Climate Week, which used to be in Miami, is now coming to Chicago in July, the 21st to 22nd. That registration is also live, and we've been working with some of the TNC folks and other organizers to garner and gather community-based presentations and support for this. So we have our hands in sort of all of these a little bit, but I would urge you, if you could go to any one of them. They've been really enlightening, especially the Midwest Climate Collaborative. I've been to that one in the past. That's a good one. And I have not been to Aspen Ideas Week, but because it's here, I will probably go. And Shaping a Sustainable Future is on my list, but TBD. So please join us for those. And with that, I'm done. Claudia and Emily, it's your floor, please. And welcome and thank you. And Beth.
Yeah, I might just let fill these guys in on a little bit of how this came about. So at our last meeting, Ted asked if about stuff that we were doing in the field that had to do with climate action. And so that's where he invited you guys to come and share a little bit, because basically I said, there are these amazing people that I'm working with on this project that works to amplify really cool green spaces and art in Chicago. And I think they might come. And so there we are. We're here today. So there's really just, Ted, so there's this first page here that has Claudia's picture and Emily's picture. And I think there's the next page that has more of Claudia's photos that I sent to you. Is that right? If you go forward. Yeah, there you go. So if Claudia wants to go first, and then Emily, you'll have a slide just like this one, I think, following that. And I think, how much time would you like people to take, Ted?
You're
Maybe
muted,
like
Ted.
Ted's muted, but the agenda says 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay, so
about
total for
20
us-
minutes. Sorry, I didn't realize I muted myself. 20
Yeah.
minutes for you guys and about 20 minutes for Seva, and that'll be the hour just about.
Okay, so yeah, so maybe about 9 minutes each since I said a few things.
And
Awesome.
did you want me to go back to the first page, Beth, or do you want me to stay on this page?
I think that, well, I mean, I'm going to go back to the other page for just a second. So this is Claudia's organization here, Claudia Galeno Sanchez, and then Emily Parkinson will talk a little bit about the Grow Corner Gardens. So yeah, and you can go forward.
Thank you so much. We started, we started Women for Green Spaces. We just started everything as an idea of myself, like trying to bring my kids, showing my kids, my children. I have two children, an 11-year-old girl and a boy of 8 years. And I wanted to show them the beauty of the monarch butterflies. So when they started to go, my daughter was 3, she started to go to El Valor, and they started to talk about butterflies, how to raise butterflies. So I started raising butterflies for them to see them close and see the caterpillars and see the eggs and then the butterflies. But I never thought that this was going to become eventually to an organization. So my children started to learn the stages, the eggs, the caterpillars, the chrysalids, the butterflies. And it was so amazing for me to see how much they were enjoying and learning. So we started to look for plants, for native plants. And eventually, one day we got native plants from Field Museum. Here is Nicole doing the meeting. So before that, I'm sorry that I have to say that, but we used to go to parks and I was looking for milkweeds and I was digging them out and bringing them home. And I was like, oh, I know it's not good to do, but I didn't know where to get plants, native plants. I was bringing some seeds, but I didn't know that they need to be stratified. So anyway, later, we started to find milkweeds and other native plants. I also realized that by helping the monarch butterflies, we also help the native pollinators and other pollinators and the birds because they eat the caterpillars, right? So everything, it was so amazing for me that I wanted other people to learn about this. And so we started to look for places to kind of have a native plant garden, but we didn't find anything. So we decided that our house was going to be transformed into a butterfly sanctuary. This is how we painted our neighbor. We are so happy and so blessed to have him in our neighborhood. He's Hector Duarte. He's a muralist. He's a very well-known muralist. I told him about the idea of having a butterfly sanctuary, and I told him about the idea of painting some butterflies in the house, just to kind of tell people that this was a butterfly sanctuary. Fortunately, he came and he saw the house, and one day he brought a paint. We started painting the house and painting butterflies. And we didn't have to pay for that. He gave us all his time and the paint and everything and his ideas. So later we started going to schools, because one of the problems we're having here in Pilsen and also Little Village is that we don't have access to spaces. Even though we want to see butterflies, we want to see more trees, we want to see more native plants, we don't really have the spaces. So sorry, my dog is happy that my husband got home. So and so we started to look for the schools, and I was like, yeah, how about the gardens at my children's school? Because the garden, I'm so sorry, he's just too excited. And we started to ask the principal about the idea of bringing plants for the pollinators, but because it was so difficult to find native plants, we went to Home Depot. I know it's not the same, but we want the plants. So, and we got some plants. And later we started to getting more plants. So we went and started to plant more native plants. And then this is the picture in the middle is a Xochitl garden. This is a community garden. We also asked for to have a space on the sidewalk to plant native plants. We are also helping with half of the garden with the vegetables. And we are involving people in the community because we don't have we don't have green spaces here, but we really need to be in contact with nature, with vegetables, with trees, with butterflies, with pollinators, with plants. And then we went to Orozco Cooper. It's the picture in the middle, but under the Xochitl garden. And so we started planting there too. And the super amazing thing about all of this is that we are getting to the children's. We are getting to the children's mind. We are getting to, and this on the top on the left is that's a letter that we together with it was a project together with Beth, Emily, and who else? Marinia and other professors from Urbana-Champaign. So we invited Orozco children to help us writing letters to be sent to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And there is a teacher that invited me also to be part of the health and wellness club at Orozco, and she helped us communicate to this idea to the teachers, and the children started to write these wonderful letters. We were so it was so difficult to mail them because all of them were so beautiful, right? So it was so difficult for us to send them because they tell a lot about how the children feel, how the children think, and they are so happy to get to know more about the butterflies, and that we can all be part of the conservation, right? So probably 40, 60 letters, something like that. I forgot the number exactly, but they also, because we're having also some issues in Cooper and also Orozco with the mowing of the landscaping companies, the second graders, they started to make signs: no mowing, no pesticides, don't spoil, don't ruin the garden. So this is a butterfly sanctuary. And also this on the right in the top, we have a picture there of the children writing the letters with the moms, with the grandmoms. And under that picture, we have that's me at Orozco. Sometimes we have community events. Please let me know if my time is over. I'm just not good at tracking the time. Anyway, so that's me. We are giving away milkweeds. We wanna also, because of this issue, we're finding spaces to plant milkweeds. We are giving away, when we have donation of milkweeds, we give them away to the families. We wanna get to the neighbors' gardens. And so sometimes when we go to some events, we take, if we have milkweeds, we take them just for donations, so we can all help the environment, everything, right? Even humans. And so what I'm finding that is so important is that sometimes is the children bringing their moms or their grandmoms to bring to take some milkweeds to take to the gardens. So this is like even though we are facing Women for Green Spaces, we just started as an organization just last year. And we are facing so many challenges. This is the things that are are helping us keep going, feel the feeling that we are in the right work, that we need to keep going with the children, because we are finding that this is so amazing to see that the children really wanna help saving the monarch butterflies and other species. And this is so important because I feel that the monarch butterflies really are the voices of the other species. Because by protecting the monarch butterflies, we are also going to be protecting other species. And the birds, sometimes we have some nest of cardinals and other birds here in the garden, and they are so happy because they find caterpillars. Unfortunately, that's part of nature too. But I don't know how I'm with the time. Am I okay?
I think it's probably, if it's okay, we wrap up and then we have Emily share a little bit about Grow. And Emily's also been part of all these meetings. We've had 2 different meetings in Hector Duarte's studio. One that you see here is with making butterfly letters and making butterflies out of model magic. And then we also did an amazing workshop, thanks to Emily leading, on planting the plantings to kind of start thinking about some of the gardens that she's going to share. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, Ted, that'd be great. See some of the stuff Emily has helped co-create.
Yeah, hi everyone. I just love hearing Claudia talk about the amazing work that she's doing down in Pilsen and Little Village. And now I live in a different area of the city. I live on the north side, and it's very clear the inequity in green space in the city of Chicago when you go from the north side down to the south side and west side. So we have in my neighborhood, which you can see on the map, we're in the Rockwell area, north of Montrose, south of Lawrence, between Western and the river. And we have these corner parkways. So for decades, the Greater Rockwell organization has been transforming, corners of grass into gardens. And so this has been going on for a long time. But for many years, it's really been about aesthetics over maybe ecosystem services. So the gardens are very beautiful. And it's so important, I think, to balance both of those 2 considerations, because you do want beautiful spaces where people feel, that they can look at something and be able to kind of read the different layers and the elements in it and be able to recognize some plants that they know that have some sort of meaning to them, and just, being really restorative of humans' attention and stress relief and all that great stuff. But we also want to be considering what plants are really going to be most beneficial for our local ecosystem. Especially being so close to the river, we want to be really mindful of runoff and, going totally chemical free and looking for those plants that have those deep roots to help with some of that stormwater management. And so I'm actually pretty new to the Greater Rockwell organization. I'm a former teacher and recently just stepped away from teaching to study horticulture at University of Illinois online. And so I am pretty new to this, but I saw that Renee is on this call from EEC, and really they are totally leading the way with this idea of transforming parkways and corners into native pollinator-friendly gardens. Lots of organizations are doing this kind of work. So a lot of just effort among neighbors to transform our community, both for the human benefit and the ecosystem benefit. So some of the things that we're looking to do, you can see in these pictures, so you can see a map there of where all of our corners are. The color coding is just for my own purposes of like corners that we have a committed volunteer for versus corners that we are kind of in flux, maybe have a volunteer who we just haven't heard back from in a little while. But we do have over 30 corners. And we have about 25 committed volunteers. We have some people that have been with the organization for decades and some that are brand new. And you can see in the photos that there's definitely a mix of native and non-native plants. We are making an effort to really convert to more native gardens. I think it would be a great goal one day to have 100% native, but we're not there yet, but we are working towards that. Really trying to educate the community a little bit more on how to, like, simple considerations that you can make to enhance your garden for pollinators. So really looking to be intentional about planting things that bloom early in the season all the way to very late in the season. Like I said about stormwater management, we have a lot of flooding in our neighborhood. And we're going to be experimenting with putting in more native grasses that are really, really deep rooted, and seeing if that helps at all with some of that flooding that happens to kind of build up around the corners. Also educating the community and our gardener crew about overwintering insects and the importance of leaving plant matter over the winter and not doing a big fall cleanup. And leaving some leaf matter, leaving up those stems. We actually, in our corners right now, you can walk around and see that there's a lot of great corners where there are some spring bulbs popping up, but there's also still dried stalks of plants, that might be nesting sites for some of our native bees. And a big thing that I'm trying to do with the organization is increase, like I said, the community education. So doing a lot on social media, and then we're going to be trying to have a lot of events in the community where we can just get the word out more about how, the importance of those ecological practices. And yeah, it might not look pretty to have some of that, dead plant debris, but here's why it's important. And here's a picture of a native bee nesting in a stem. And educating people about that there are a lot more bees out there than just honeybees. And a lot of our small, tiny native bees are way more efficient at pollination. And changing community perceptions can be a little bit difficult. Education is definitely an important part of all of this. We get comments sometimes about, why do we want to bring more bees into the neighborhood? We don't want more bees. And, so it's important to really, have those conversations with neighbors and provide some education about how, actually a lot of these bees aren't aggressive and aren't going to sting you. And here's why they're so beneficial to our ecosystem and why we need them. So, and actually, Nicole on this call, Nicole had a great webinar with Wild Ones about like the advocacy power of public gardens. And so I got a lot of ideas from Nicole about, how we can use this small initiative and these small little corner spaces to change attitudes, change perceptions, and introduce people to some more native plants that can be really beneficial.
I wanted to say one thing, or I don't know if you want to just give one comment on. So one of the things about bringing these two partners together, and again, we had some funding from UIUC through our nonprofit to help with this, but Emily worked with Claudia, and then you guys were able to design some gardens around Orozco that then got funded by IDNR for plants. So it's kind of like we were talking in the spirit of CAPN, like climate action. What are we doing in Chicago? We're doing a lot. So it's kind of, so I thought having people talk a little bit about that, but I don't know if we have a lot of time more for sharing this. I don't know if it's a nice transition to move into the climate action plan for people in nature, because that's kind of all about like highlighting a lot of this work in the Chicago area.
We have a little bit of time for questions or wrap up. If folks have questions, I have a couple if no one else does, but I'll be silent for a moment to see if other people have some questions. No? Okay, Claudia, do you have plans to grow this bigger than just at Orozco and sort of implement other schools or approach other schools?
Yes, that's the plan, to get to other schools. Right now, we just got a grant from the USDA and Green Latinos to plant trees in schools. Unfortunately, for the situation right now, we won't have the 3 years that we were going to have to work with this. But this is the goal. getting to more schools, bringing more native trees and more native gardens to more schools. And while we are looking for schools to plant more trees, there is schools asking us for more native plant gardens. And unfortunately, we don't have the resources to plant native plant gardens. You need to buy the plants and also have the money to kind of watering the gardens. And yes, and this is so amazing because people, the principals, as two principals from back of the yards, they are asking for native plant gardens. And here in also, we gotta keep going with the gardens at Cooper, and there is another school that we gave some Irma Ruiz. We gave a teacher some plants, but I saw that there still have more space for more plants. But yes, I think they are the resources who are kind of needed.
Any other questions?
I see a question from Mario regarding cutting pokeweed stalks before the co-op board complains and after the bees are done hatching. So yeah, it's hard to balance those two perspectives. I have heard, and I could be wrong, I don't want to spread misinformation, but if you are in a situation where, you know, you're being told like you have to cut this, like it you know, it looks bad and it, you know, whatever. If you do have to do that, I've done just cutting off like the top few inches. I'm not sure if pokeweed is a hollow stem. I'm sure someone on this call knows if it is, but and just giving it a moment to let anything fly out if it's going to fly out, and then doing just chopping it in like 8-inch sections and then just leaving them in a pile. So sometimes if you just leave a pile of hollow stems somewhere on the property, maybe in an inconspicuous location, it can still be a beneficial nesting site until they're ready to emerge. So that is one way to compromise.
That's a really good idea that I hadn't thought of. Thank you, Emily. Awesome. Any last questions?
I just have a question for Emily. Emily, how do you do it with the watering? Because I know watering is very important for the corners, and we are also having issues in the schools with watering.
Yes, that's a great question. Well, our hope is that long term we'll have enough native plants in these gardens that we won't need to do much watering or even any watering after several years. But for now, we do have relationships with at least one homeowner like on the block that each corner is on. That we have an agreement with them that we can use their hose. And usually it's just a lot of filling up. If the hose is close enough, just bringing it over, but then also just filling up watering cans and walking them over a few times. But yeah, the more natives we add, the less water we're going to need. But corners they dry up pretty fast. They're reflecting a lot of heat and sunlight off of the pavement. So it's tricky.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Claudia and Emily and Beth. This was really great. I appreciate it a ton. And I hope everybody else did too. And Beth, I think you were spot on. This does set the stage for Cap N and Seva and Sam. So if you want to launch into that, Seva, I will advance the slide and you can go ahead.
Sure. I guess it would just be helpful to know, like, does everyone have context on Cap N on the call?
Why don't you give it? I think there are enough new folks that maybe a quick refresher would be good.
Do you want to give it for a minute, Ted?
Sure. Okay, so a quick refresher, 30-second version. 2010, Chicago Wilderness authored a climate action plan for nature that was really forward thinking at the time, and about 15 years later, it is still necessary and forward thinking, much of the work, but there was some work that focused on some things that never came to fruition, and it was also done at the time in sort of an authored top-down expert format. And when we had an opportunity to think about revising this, we're approaching it a little bit differently from a community perspective, and not sort of an expert author perspective, although most of the folks that we have asked to participate, excuse me, are experts in their own right, in community planning or just being a member of the community and being active in that community and knowing what they need. So we have been working for the past couple of years on setting up this platform to revise this climate action for people and nature effort, so that we could A, get community involved, but B, what we're seeing regionally and locally is that a lot of the climate plans that are being generated focus on transportation and electricity and, you know, building modernization or building retrofits or things like that, and not so much nature-based solutions like gardens in the corners of rights of way or gardens at schools for pollinators and stuff like that. Tree canopy is another thought. You know, most of our impacts are going to be heat and flooding or drought. Maybe fires coming soon, I think, but we're not quite there yet. So how do we respond to this from a community standpoint? And that's basically what CAPN is hoping to do by creating this co-design group that is about to launch, and Seva will address in her presentation. Does that set the stage for you enough, Seva?
That's totally great. Thank you, Ted.
Awesome.
I just wanted to make sure everyone had that framework. And you did it quite succinctly. Yeah, I'll just offer, so we do, Samantha and myself, we're part of a group, Collaborative Connections, and we do participatory planning with groups, long range, short term, community planning, strategic planning, any when my mom asked me what my job is, it's to make adults get in a room together and make decisions together and agree on them and sort of get along through the process. So that's the goal here, is to take a lot of different folks who are doing this work for a very long time to get everyone in the same room and to say, what is it that we really think needs to happen here, and help people have a collective framework forward of how we want to be doing work. And it helps organizations or community-based folks or whoever be able to see themselves within a larger planner structure as well. So we're working backwards into that. This little context is just to talk about the fact that, like, a group, to create something like this, it's a journey. We want to go from the group starting being like, what is CAPN, to actually implementing a plan. You don't create plans that are just there to be written documents. You create a framework or a plan or something to be implemented and for people to see their role in implementing it. Also, there are all these other Chicago wilderness, there's these streams and there's groups. And how do we work in this coordinated way of what is it that our North Star is that we're all kind of working towards for those of us who are doing this work? So right now we have this co-design team that we spent quite a bit of time. So there have been people who have been working on this project for a long time, many who are on this call, and in a more coordinated effort to get more folks at the table and create something with all sorts of folks and a diversity of perspective and representation from a lot of different people. That's where we're headed right now. And so we put together this co-design team, invited around 60 or 70 folks to figure out what is it that this thing can be and how are we going to design it. So Ted, you can go on to the next slide. The goal would be to have a series of meetings. And again, the list, I don't know if Ted, if you want to put the link in the chat of who's been invited to be on this co-design team, is that this team would design how this planning process could take place. It's for the Chicago Wilderness region, which is quite a large region. It's beyond obviously just Chicago, and Chicago itself is actually quite large. And how do we hold all of that and all of the different groups doing work? There's a series of questions that will be answered throughout this planning process, and some by the co-design team and some by broader community engagement. The co-design team will answer that. But we really want to understand, whenever you do planning, you want to figure out what's already happened and what's worked well and what hasn't, what's already in place right now, and make sure everybody is on the same page about that, and looking and getting really clear on the scope of what we're talking about. And then thanks, Laura, for doing that. And Laura handled it, Ted, you're off the hook. Then we want to actually set a vision. So usually we all have different images of what it is that we want to see in place and what we're working towards. How do we take the time to pause and to actually name that and have a very clear vision forward? If all people needed was a vision and then they could implement it, that would be great. But usually there's stuff that gets in the way. And so that would be taking a pause when we look at our blocks. It's looking at what are ways that maybe our environmental community is operating and working, and folks who are doing conservation work or all types of different work are working together or not working together. What's actually kind of keeping us stuck, and what are some levers that we need to sort of unstick in order to actually move forward together collectively. So that's that blocks portion. We look at sort of substantial actions that we will take, and that's where you start seeing the formation of actual bucket arenas, 6 or 7 or 8 different areas that people really want to focus on. And then with any plan, you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of, okay, well, what does this mean? What do we actually think needs to happen in the next X amount of time? Co-design team will decide, is that 5 years? Is that 10 years? Is that 15 years? Is that not even a time frame, but more of the Ted you were describing earlier, is that like within an environmental context? How might we go about this? This team will sort of decide that. What the values in the planning process are, or having is really flipping this idea that yes, there are people who are experts in certain fields, but people with just community folks, people who do this work, people who are passionate about it, are also experts in this, and that we all kind of have to come together and bring our own wisdom to create a plan forward together. So it is broadening the scope of who's at the table in order to have a conversation like this, and creating a plan that everybody sees themselves in, and is not something that is, you know, out there that you have no ability to actually be able to do anything about. So that's one of the goals that we have in this planning process. Ted, if you want to move forward to the next slide. So the folks who did get the invite, there's a lot of folks on this call that got the invite to join the co-design team. And this is what the co-design team will be working on, making sure we're all in values alignment of what it is that we want to be doing, creating shared values, incorporating and reflecting on previous regional efforts and planning efforts. We'll co-create the timeline. And then the other bit is the co-design team might get together and say, hey, we have a really good representation here. We can craft a plan. Or they might say, we actually really want this to be more community focused and centered. We need to do more engagement. We need to do this and that. So we'll figure out the exact structure. It's kind of it's hard, I think, in sciencey communities, or maybe in the environmental community. We do a lot of community planning processes, and often you have to get the right people in the room to figure out what you actually even want to do. And this has been a little bit hard to get happening here, but I think we're right there. We're getting the right people in the room to figure out what this can actually be. And that's where we are, and we'll get clearer as we move forward. And then this is sort of what folks who are going to be joining that co-design team are on the hook for. And I'll pause there and say, are there questions, or Ted or Laura, did I miss anything that you were hoping that I would also share?
Not from my end, but you did remind me that, and I sort of touched on this a little bit, but lately, especially in the climate space, there's this idea of, not that Western science is bad, but it's not the only way of thinking, right? And so, you know, there's been this tension between Western science and social science and placemaking and relativity and relationship building. So that's what this is about. So that we can solve some of these really thorny, deep problems together, not in isolation, which we feel has been traditionally sought, if that makes sense for folks. So, you know, we hope to get some traditional ecological knowledge in the room. We hope to get some non-Western science, some community-based planning and organization thoughts in the room. So that this truly can be a communal document, and not something that was written by, you know, a city department thinking what's best writ wide for Chicago, which is a very complex, right, area. And then you zoom this out to Chicago Wilderness Alliance geography, which is part of 4 states. It gets even more complex in terms of rural, urban, and community types and sectors. So it's very audacious, I think. And I'm really excited after sort of 2-3 years of talking about this to get this underway. So thank you, Seva, and thank you to everybody that has to date wanted to participate. Seva, is participation closed, or are we still taking interested parties?
What do you mean for the co-design team?
Yeah. Like,
I mean,
so if Emily or Claudia, for example, wants to participate, we haven't reached out to them, right?
Right.
Is that possible or not? I'm not
I think
sure.
right now we're really in the, because there's groups are either in the divergent phase or the convergent phase. Right now we're still in the divergent phase. And so I think we're welcome and open to ideas. We have the list and roster of people who are on there. A lot of institutional representation right now. I think my premise is that we need to get all of the organizations and institutions who are doing this work in alignment before we get folks with a community focus in alignment. Because oftentimes when my experience is like folks who do work in community are often in alignment, and institutions and organizations often aren't. And so how do we make sure that we get there's layers here? And so that is one of the goals of the co-design team, is not have certain representation from community, but to make sure that folks who are coming from these large institutional backings and who have all of these plans and all these things that they're already trying to do, we can form some amount of alignment before we bring in more people, because otherwise the house is really not in order and then it gets really mucky. So I think that would be one of the ways that we've approached this particular co-design team, is we know it's institutionally focused and heavy, but there was some sort of reason for that happening. We do have some community representation in there to keep us on sort of pace and make sure that we're moving in the right direction, but that's not who completely developed that. So Ted, I would say yes, and we are at a place where we want to move this forward. Folks have been working on this for a very, very long time, and there's been a lot of transitions, and groups only sort of move as you need to kind of capture group momentum and energy, and we kind of need to move this forward. So my answer would be yes, and.
Okay. Thank you. Seva, do you have anything left? We have 5 minutes left in the meeting. We have time for a couple questions if there are any. I don't have much left in the agenda other than thanking you all for your time and saying when we're going to gather again. Any questions for Seva? Going once. Going twice. All right, no questions. Well, as promised, thank you everybody for coming. This was great. Emily, Claudia, Beth, thank you. Seva, Sam, thank you. This has been awesome for me. And I just want to say happy weekend, everybody. Have fun doing all those things that we heard about all of us doing. And our next meeting will be in June, Friday the 13th. Which happens more often than I would like with this group, because we have our meetings on Fridays. And they're always the second one of the month. So we usually get 1 or 2 Fridays the 13th a year, which is way more than I would like. But oh, Casey, I see your hand.
I did just look up that invite, and they're still taking people till tax day, April 15th.
That is correct. And if you're interested, please do email myself, Laura, or Seva, but probably myself or Laura, and we can put our emails in the chat. Otherwise, thank you all for coming and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.